What's up, everybody? All right, got a different background today. My 2-year-old came into my office and wreaked havoc. So you got yourself my shed background. I'm making this video about what it really means to check yourself before you wreck yourself. I know you've heard that phrase, like check yourself, check in another person, that kind of thing. What I've seen with this though is there's a kind of a bullshit version of checking other people. And then there's a real way to check yourself and to have people around you who can check you that can actually bring out a better version of you for real. And this has served me massively, really, over the last 5 years. I have a specific group of people that have helped me stay in check with actually being my best self. One of the main people in there being my wife. And because of that ability to be held to a higher standard, I have seen way more. Like, for example, I don't have the luxury of slacking off. I don't have the luxury of doing shit just because I feel like it or not. It's like there's a certain level of responsibility that I've developed for myself and a certain amount of relationships I've created. And so if you find yourself struggling to like stay motivated, if you find yourself struggling at doing the right discipline, or if you even find yourself just looping in your own mind, going into the stuff that's like stressing you out and you end up sabotaging yourself, listen up because in the video here, I'm going to explain a lot of what I've seen has worked really well for me. And at the end, I'm going to give you an exercise of what you can do today to help really open up different like solutions within yourself, right? Because a lot of times we get so spinning, it's like our wheels are spinning, we're not getting any traction in our life to move forward. And so, again, this stuff has helped me. Yeah, sure, it's helped me make a lot of money and have good business. But 10 times, 20 times more important than that is have awesome relationships, awesome family, and positions of responsibility in my community and positions of responsibility now within the world. And that we have international group of people who actually give a shit about creating a better world. And we all come together consistently. We run groups. Like I just got off a call with 30 or so guys from all around the world who actually care about masterminding, about coming together and pushing each other to that next level, but doing it very specifically. It's not just some like, hey guys, let's get freaking motivated. Yeah, that sounds fun. It's like there's a lot of that in the world. That's like checking each other on just some bullshit. The thing we're actually talking about is this isn't going to be the topic of the video, but the thing we're talking about is John Kerry, the guy who he ran for president here in the US years and years back, literally out in the World Economic Forum talking about how we need to restrict free speech in America and that the First Amendment is literally getting in the way of that, installing their plan, which is messed up. And I'm sure a lot of you watching my video care about that. Some of you are so worried about this upcoming week, the stressors on your plate that you can't even fathom that. And so what I'm making this video on is first about that. Like, let's deal with what's on your plate right now to the best that we can in a video. I'm going to give you some ideas here where you can really check yourself before you wreck yourself. And why is that phrase there? Like, yes, I know it's from a song, but wrecking yourself means so you were raised, right, by your parents or whoever raised you as a kid. And you got the download of how reality works. You got the download of what words mean, of how to interact, of when you should take action, of when you should hesitate, of when you should move, of when you should doubt yourself. All of that you got downloaded into you from your parents and from your surroundings and the people close to you, but also movies, which is literally created by evil Hollywood. You've got books that you read as a kid that had messed up authors writing them. And so you have an operating system that is literally designed to sabotage and short circuit. And then you go on Instagram and you see cool pictures of people with a Ferrari or with a mansion or with whatever the hell you think you want. And then you go, oh, I want to have that. But your operating system is faulty. You're not in alignment with reality. And I did this for years. I was the guy who would literally order all the books on Amazon. I would buy courses and mentorships and coaching and masterminds and spend a lot of money, for example, for a year to be in Ty Lopez's mastermind because I saw what he was doing with internet marketing and I was fascinated by it. I wanted to spend time around the guy. So I took basically all the rest of the money that I had to just pour it into that because I saw that that could help me level up faster. And what happens is that you still don't address the operating system. So you're around people, you're learning, you're growing, and it's cool. And you'll feel moments of realization and insight, and wow, and it's fun. And you focus on that positive, still trying to avoid that negative, but you always find a way to then loop back basically to the same spot, which is your general disposition or your general attitude towards the world. And it tends to be a lot of negative shit that you think about yourself and about those people around you. Even though on the surface you put on a smile and you feel like a good person and you get excited and you want to go share and be pumped up and make that motivational post on your Facebook, but deep down you're sad and you feel angst and you feel misunderstood and you are misunderstood. Not just how you feel, but actually like people around you don't understand you. And your kids don't understand you and your spouse doesn't understand you. And so there's all this shit, right? And you're either going to be the person who says, no, I still want to figure out how to get to my goal, but I got to actually now rewire myself for that, or you're just going to give up. And if you're just going to give up, well, that's fucking sad because you have so much potential. Like I make these videos because I see the potential in the people around me. And I see still very few people around me really tapping that full potential, but I see more and more people do it. And my whole purpose for my life is to help check you and check those around me to actually live up to that potential, not just with making more money. Even though money's fun, money's great, right? We live in a messed up system where that money keeps finding a way to run out. And then you got to go make more money and go make more money. And then you sacrifice yourself just for that. It's typically at the expense of your health and at the expense of your relationships and especially your kids or your local community. Or we let these fuckers like John Kerry run the world and then say, yeah, guys, who needs the First Amendment, right? Or you see that piece in New York Times like 3 weeks ago. It said our founding document, the Constitution, right? Genius idea or a threat to democracy or whatever. And like, thankfully, Joe Rogan and some of these people are putting in the public spotlight talking about it. It's like, this is the insanity that we're giving to this next generation of kids. And so again, I make this video because one, I want to help you up level your understanding of your potential and help check you and hold you to that. And then for those of you who really resonate with that and want to be part of the change, I'm also looking for you because there's a much bigger thing that we got to do here with this one precious life that we have is to live all out and really show ourselves what's possible by taking a ton of responsibility. So back to my point of the actual video itself is this idea of checking yourself. I'm going to give you a few examples of what this has looked like in my life that's served me extremely well. One, relationship. So I have my wife, Jessica. She's amazing. When I first met her, though, and who I was and who she was, we were very ambitious. We had a lot of passion, but we didn't really develop a true, genuine trust in ourselves. This was 5 years ago, basically. From that, wow, I actually met her like 5 years ago to this day, or right around this week. So at that time, right, I was a very passionate person. I would read books. I'm like studying hardcore to like be the best version of myself, make a ton of money, be successful, be happy, change the world, etc. And then she also was very passionate about that. But what has developed over the years, and this is the real point I want to share, is Jessica and I have made the commitment to each other to bring out the best in each other. But actually, so for example, the other day we were hanging out and it was like late at night, and we have two boys now, and one of them was just really just on edge at night. It was like having trouble sleeping. I was trying to comfort him, but I was not giving a 10 out of 10 in the comfort. It was like a 7 out of 10, right? Because I was tired, right? It had been a long day. I was just like not in the most effective expression to really support him or to get him to my wife and like really have her do her mom magic and like soothe him to sleep. And I keep forgetting it because he's a very advanced kid for being two, but he's still basically a baby. He's still basically pre-verbal. Like, yes, he can use words and everything, but so I was sitting there and I was like, hey, like, use your words. I was telling Aristotle this. I was like, hey, use your words, like, use your words, use your words. And he was just crying, right? Because he was just like, mom, I want mom. And I was like, I was like trying to communicate with him, right? Because this has worked many, many times. But in that moment, I was not being honest about the situation, that he just needed me to breathe a bit more and just be a bit more patient with him and just really sit there with him. So my wife checked me on it. And it was very cool. And afterwards, and it was just cool. She's like, "Look, like you asking him that question is not helping. Like try this instead." And we sorted it out and it was just fine, and he was able to get back to sleep and it was good. But afterwards, right? Part of me wanted to just go back to sleep, but I kind of saw it, and at the same time, me and my wife had this realization. We're like, look, okay, well, what happened there? Right? How can we make that better? So I was like, this is a pain point for me because if it's midnight or 1 a.m. and I don't know how to sue them, like I don't really know exactly what to do. And it was so fascinating because in that moment too, she's like, look, she's like, yeah, do you want me to just accept you giving this kind of like, current level of support that you're giving our son? Or I know what you can do. I've seen your greatness. You know, I'm here to help bring that out of you. Like this is what we agreed to at the beginning of our relationship. Like I can't not hold you to that high potential. And it was so cool. Because in that moment, even though I was uncomfortable, I wanted to go to sleep, everything, I was like, no, this is actually the best thing for me to discuss. That's an example of checking, right? Now, you may not have that in depth of a relationship with your spouse. Okay, cool. Build it. Build it. You can do it. Okay. Here's another example of checking yourself. Having people around you that are friends and or business partners, people that you work alongside day in and day out on the same vision. Okay. Another example of that is we're just on this call with these guys, right? And part of it is having guys in the group that are willing to call each other out in a way that is actually like, because if you're going to call someone out, people like you have to also be ready because people are going to call you out. So it's a very cool way, like, especially as guys, man. We don't have this nowadays. And again, the starting point of so many of these groups are fucked. Where they'll be like, "Oh, we're gonna have a men's circle, and we're gonna, challenge each other to do this hard shit, and go run 10 miles together, whatever." It's like, for what purpose? Like, why? Why? Like, are you actually wanting to be the best version of yourself? Because then we got to be really honest about what that means. Or is it just you want to get hyped up and get your dose of testosterone and feel like a boss or whatever? And it's like, it's what a lot of sports teams do too, right? It's like, get so pumped up to win the game. It's like, you ever heard that quote from, what's the guy's name? Juventus. I don't know how you say his name, but he was the Roman. And he said, give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. I made a post the other day as a meme, and it was like what was it? It was the guy Mel Gibson from Braveheart, and it's like when your favorite sports team loses, and he's like running into fucking battle. He's like ah, and then it's like when the government takes away your rights and your free speech, and you know, it was basically like, yeah, when the government essentially like clamps down on everything, right? And then it's a picture of a sheep. And it's like, how many guys are like that nowadays? You pretend to be so fucking pumped about, oh yeah, I'm gonna do manly shit. But you just channel yourself into just something very specific, like I'm just gonna get really fucking gonna make money because I gotta make money, right? Because you actually just have a scarcity mindset and you've tried to fill it with money, but you end up selling stupid shit that doesn't help anyone to do that. Or you're like really into fitness and you have like an 8 pack. Wow, great. But you suck at making money. You're actually not standing for anything, whatever. And it's like, we see this in the world so much. And in reality, we should be fucking livid at what's happening in the world. Like, we should be pissed at what we've allowed. Like, I live in the US. This, I would say, the last place that actually honors the idea of democracy, constitutional republic. Okay, for all you nerds out there who are going to try and correct me on that. Okay, so we have our republic, but it's like we still honor, at least in lip service, the idea that we can actually vote and our vote has meaning. I have a lot of friends in Canada and in Europe, and they've given up on that idea. Now, good thing I have friends who actually give a shit, and so they're working on solutions to that. But it's like, if we look at our politics and we see just, oh, those guys just run the show and it's just a puppet game and you're just blaming it. It's like, how does that help anything? In reality, we should look at, hey, how do we get 2,000 of us who are all like-minded to get into all levels of government, and then to also get into the media, and to also have effective businesses, and to also step up in terms of just social responsibility and put on events and things, so we can get people to actually realize it is cool to take on responsibility. Because right now there's a group called the World Economic Forum who's pushing this idea of, hey, by 2030, you're going to own nothing and be happy. It's like, no, we should take massive ownership. And from that, you actually get real happiness. And it doesn't mean I'm fucking happy all day long. A lot of it is dealing with a lot of shit, right? And then you get people who criticize you and people who talk shit about you. And it's like, it just comes with the territory. And so back to that point of checking yourself. And if you don't have people around you, guys specifically, and for the ladies, right? My talk to my wife. There's a women's group that does their own version of this, right? With self-perfected community and all that. And it's like genuine, real support. And I think they chat for like 2 hours every other Wednesday or something like that. And it's really freaking cool because these are women that are actually learning how to be uh, an effective friendship, let's say, with other women instead of just this catty, petty bullshit that apparently women deal with all the time, right? I'm sure you see it in movies, but it's like, especially if you got a spouse or if you're female watching this, whatever, I'm sure you see that a lot of the relationships out there are very fake, but that's a specific group, right? And like for the guys, we have a very specific group where you can actually call each other out and check each other on stuff. Because when you have that, it's like that phrase, iron sharpens iron. If you never had that before, um, you see, are you missing out? Because man, when someone challenges me in a cool way, not just some bullshit like they're just fighting for their limitations, but they're actually like, dude, like I saw you do that before, but you're not doing that now. Why not? We should like you should get back to that and you should do more. And like when someone can challenge me like that, I'm like, dude, hell yeah. Or like they're like if they say like, hey, I don't know if you can do that. I don't think you can do that. It's like it can become motivating, right? You have to look at your programming. That's why I was talking about operating system, and that's what I want to get to in a moment. But it's like you have your operating system, and when you have people around you who can push that out of you and really help you rise to that level, and you can do that for them, that I mean, this is the foundation of the new world that we need to create, is where this is cool. It is cool to talk about this. It is normal to talk about this. It's mainstream for people to care about this. That's years out. But there's something called the diffusion of innovation. This guy Simon Sinek popularized it. I'm sure he didn't come up with it, but it's this life cycle of how things become more mainstream. At the beginning, you just have the crazy ones, right? You have the founders, the visionaries who are like, guys, we're going to have iPhones everywhere. And you're like, what the hell is an iPhone? Why would I want that? I have my flip phone. Who needs an iPhone? And then you get then so sorry, you have the founders right away, then you have the innovators. And that's like the first like 2.5% of people. And they're the ones who are like, dude, iPhone's sick. Like I need to stand outside in the cold for an iPhone, whatever. And they're like hardcore about it. But then you start to expand and then you get into what's called the early majority. So, and then you have the late majority and then the laggards, et cetera. That's how you can actually spread a mass movement. That's how you create a cultural transformation. My whole point is let's make the idea of checking ourselves and checking each other and actually holding each other accountable to what we say and holding each other to the best standard we can and actually helping people instead of just being, the whole crabs in the bucket idea where it's like, oh, that guy's getting out. Ah, fuck him. Like, let's just pull him back in, whatever. Like, that's such a stupid way of looking at reality. And like, I would encourage you to despise that type of thinking because it doesn't help anyone. And we're literally creating hell on earth. And for anyone who can stand up and start to see, like, dude, we actually need to change stuff. If you're like, if you're the kind of person who criticizes that, you're probably not watching this video. Who knows? One day, I'm sure people will look back and comb through all my content and then say whatever the hell they're going to say about me. But if you are standing up, and you are here to create the best version of yourself in the world, and you really do genuinely want to level up, and you are doing it, you will get haters. You will get people who criticize you. Like I get criticized for the videos I make, but I still do it because the idea of just fighting for your limitations is absurd. And I wholeheartedly condemn that because it's not actually serving the person who's criticizing, and they just need someone to explain it in 20 different ways till they can get it. And so I take the responsibility to become even better at what I do. But again, that's through me being checked by the people around me, specifically my spouse and the community that I have. But the final point here is the idea of checking yourself. Now, here's some questions you can ask to at least start this process. So I had three questions I was looking at today, right? First, I would write this down is what is a situation you feel like you can't resolve? So in your life right now, and literally do it on your computer so you can type fast, and then put a document up and just write out what is a situation I feel like I can't resolve. And you might have one, you might have 40. Type. Get it out. Get it out of your head onto the paper. Okay? Next one. What is stressing me out? Another good one, right? And be specific with it. Don't just be like, oh, my wife is acting like a bitch. Like specifically, she like you know, um, she keeps complaining we don't have enough time together, or she needs a break with kids, whatever. There's going to be certain things that are actually going to be the stressor. Be specific with it and get that written down. And then the third question is where do you actually see you're stuck? So again, I'll read them all three again. One, what is a situation you feel you can't resolve? Okay, I'm on Zoom. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to have a thumbs up on Zoom. It's like, what are people blind and they can't see a real thumbs up? Okay. So, one, what is the situation you feel like you can't resolve? Two, what is stressing you out? And three, where do you see you're actually stuck? Write it all out. Now, there's something you can do with that, right? Earlier in this video, I was talking about that idea of the operating system, where you have your own operating system of how you interpret the world. It's like how your computer has Windows or Macintosh on it, whatever version, right? Mojave, Sierra, whatever they call these things, right? That needs an update. But the way you do the update, so you got to currently see what you're working with. The biggest issue people do when they're trying to level up is you keep trying to stack new things on a shit foundation. You can actually change the foundation. You can actually get back to those first 7 years. There's that phrase from the Jesuits or whoever originally coined it. Give me a child for the first 7 years, and I will show you the man. That child was at one point you. And in those first 7 years, all this shit happened to you. 98% of it you don't remember. Here's what's cool. You can now take what's going on in your current reality and go back in time because there are threads connected to your past, and you can pinpoint what is the stuff from your childhood that is still affecting you to this day. And it is stuff that is affecting how much money is in your bank account, how often you and your wife fight, how often your kids are just stressed out or frustrated or crying. It will influence how much you feel good in terms of your day to day. It will influence how your self esteem. All of this is tied back to those roots. But the way you do it is by checking yourself in the present moment, getting brutally honest about where you're at. And if you go through this and you type out all that stuff, hit me up. Just say, like, hey, I watched your video on checking yourself. Just message me on Facebook. You can find me on there. The link will be underneath the video. Just find me and send it to me. Because for those of you who are serious, I have met some of my best friends in the world from these videos I make, right? I've I have some of the coolest people I've ever met literally from these videos because they were bold enough for the guys, they had enough balls to actually reach out and go, dude, you said this in a video. What do you mean? And we get on a call and we get on another call and another call. And now these are guys who have a wife who is now friends with my wife. They have kids who are friends with my kids. I mean, they're still pretty young, right? But it's like they're growing up together. They've hung out together, like we did an event in Miami earlier this year. That's why I do this. I don't care if this video gets 10 views or 10 million views. I would love for it to have 10 million views, but I know right now that's not going to rank in the algorithm like that, and people's attention span is like a goldfish. I'm not talking to the people who just accept a goldfish attention span. I'm talking to the people who genuinely care and you want to make more money. And I've made decent money. I've done fairly well for myself. Like I don't have to work every single day to just put food on the table. Like I have a certain sense of freedom financially. It doesn't mean shit if if the world collapses. It also doesn't mean shit in terms of relationships, right? I've built a pretty awesome marriage with my wife. I have two awesome kids, and I have a community of people around me who are amazing. We have a homestead. In the background, you might hear there's a rooster that is loud as fuck. And I hear it from my office, and I enjoy it. I'm looking out the window at our back pasture, and there are cows back there. And it's like a beautiful fall day. But I'm not just sitting here going, man, life's good for me. Let me just chill today. I'm good. It's like, no, I know that these videos get in front of the right people. And I know as I keep making these videos, the right people find me. And I'm just going to triple down on that because as I keep checking myself, I keep seeing my next level of what's possible. So for today, check yourself before you wreck yourself because I promise you, you will wreck yourself unless you check yourself and follow those questions, write that out, and then let's connect and let's actually have a conversation. We'll just be friends. Let's talk. Let's connect more because, again, I'm here to make this be normal, for this to be mainstream, for this to be part of the culture, that we can actually look at the world and take more responsibility and make it the best it can be. So by the time we pass this on to our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids, they're inheriting a way better setup than we got. All right. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. All right. Thanks for watching. And if you found value in this, share it with someone. Like specifically send it to someone like, hey, I listened to this video. I got a lot out of it. It was cool. You should check it out. Listen to it. And, I hope it helps. Like share this. All right.